Hello everyone and Happy New Year. Today is January 1st, 2024. Wow, 2023 was a crazy year. As you can see by the title, this video is going to be about the value of if you bought $10,000 worth of I-bonds between last May and last October, what they would be worth starting this month. I'm going to explain what I-bonds are, why they're a decent, bad idea, good idea to buy, and why I bought them. So yeah, last October I purchased $10,000 worth of I-bonds because I had money sitting in a bank account and banks give pretty much no interest. So, and I didn't have the guts to put it all in the stock market. So yeah, I'm going to show you a screen recording. I'm going to dive in, pull up the treasury account and show you what things are worth, and hopefully live redeem or sell these I-bonds back to the US Treasury, which is who issues these bonds. Yeah, so basically, first things first, what is an I-bond? I-bonds are basically, I call them inflation bonds. They are securities that are issued by the US Treasury. You purchase them directly from the Treasury and you sell them back to the Treasury, and all the research I've done, you cannot lose any money on this type of security. They do have other securities that I believe you can lose money on. So it was just a vessel for me to put money somewhere that I knew I didn't need for at least a year to get some interest more than a bank account. So basically I-bonds have two different interest rates. There's a fixed rate and then there's the inflation rate, which is calculated off of the semi-annual inflation rate. They run a calculation. It's basically double the semi-annual inflation rate, and it's only guaranteed for 6 months. So you buy a bond, let's say in January, you're locked into a certain rate until the end of June, and then July you'll go into the next rate. But the actual rates change in May and November, I believe. And so just depending on when you buy them, you're locked into those rates for 6 months as it is. And right now the rates have dropped down from an all-time high. I believe that was the highest. We're going to look at the rates here in a sec. But from when I bought them, I believe it was the highest they've ever been. Oops, we're going to put this on airplane mode. I believe that was the highest they've ever been the entire time they've ever been issued. So let's go ahead and dive into a screen recording here. Got that going up. First thing I'm going to do is pull up this page here. This is just kind of the landing page for the I-bonds rates. I'll link all these URLs in the description. And so you can see right now the current rate is 5.27%, which is, like I said, a semi-annual inflation rate. So you have the fixed rate, the inflation rate. All you really need to know is that they take the fixed rate and then they add double the semi-annual inflation rate, calculate everything to percentages. There's a little bit of a different rounding, you know, it's kind of a weird calculation that they use. It's kind of overkill if you ask me. But basically you take the fixed rate plus 2 times the semi-annual inflation rate, and that's basically, you know, you can see down here, that's basically the rate that you're going to get for 6 months. The rates are guaranteed for 6 months, and then they'll reset. And so there's a reason why I bought them when I did, and there's a reason why I'm going to sell them right now, because I have a brokerage account which is going to pay more interest than what these were paying for the past 6 months. But the way I-bonds work is you can't sell them for at least 1 year, but it's not a good idea to sell them at 1 year if the interest rate is higher than your brokerage account or high yield savings account, whatever it is. So you have to actually hold them for 15 months to get the first year's worth of interest, because the penalty for selling them before 5 years is the last 3 months of interest. And if I pull up this other chart here, which is basically the entire interest rates since they were first issued, we're going to zoom in here, since they were first issued in looks like September of 98. So they started with a fixed rate of 3.4%. And then if we scroll all the way out here, you can see in September of 98, let's see, yeah, the semi-annual inflation rate was only 0.6%, but the fixed rate was 3.4%. And so if you look through this entire chart, I believe this is when I bought mine. Yeah, this is almost the highest they've ever been. There was one time in 2019 that they were just a little bit higher, but either way, it was all the talk. If I can find some clips, I'll insert them here. There was a lot of talk about it last year, and so if we just look at this row here, I can explain a couple things and then we'll move forward from here. So as you can see in the fixed rate column, when I purchased these in last October, there was no fixed interest rate, which is kind of a key player here. But the semi-annual inflation rate was one of the highest it's ever been. So I got locked in for 6 months at 9.62%. And then the second 6 months was 6.48%, and now the current rate that my bonds are returning are 3.38%. And I have a brokerage account that's returning 5% APY, which is like 4.8889 APR. Financial nerd here, but it's good to know how to make money off the money you're making. So yeah, so you're guaranteed for 6 months, and then the rates change. So now the rates are changing, and it's unfavorable for me to keep my money in these bonds. So I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet that I have and just talk about some of the numbers here. I'm going to have to blur some things out just because there's personal information I don't want on the internet. So if I look at this row here, this spreadsheet has kind of evolved over the last year, so there's extra data on here that you don't really need to look at. But let's say you took your $10,000 last October. I calculated what the first 6 months interest rate is by taking the semi-annual inflation rate, dividing it by 12, multiplying it by 0.01, which turns that into a percentage, and then multiplying it by 6 months, because that's how long you're locked in, and then multiplying it by the initial balance, which will return you the number, the dollar amount of interest in the first 6 months. And then this is just a 1 month calculation, and then this is the principal after 6 months. You don't have to worry about these. I was just calculating bank interest. Yeah. So this here is how much they're worth. There's just a little bit of a difference in rounding, so we're off about $1. And then we'll jump down here, and we'll look at the second 6 months interest rate. Because the way your interest is compounded, it's compounded monthly, but it's not added to the value until the 6 month mark. Yeah, for what it's calculated at the next 6 months. If you sold it in a monthly increment, they would add it to it, but the value you're going to see is not reported. It's 3 months lagging before 5 years. Yeah, anyway, there's a couple of technicalities there with what you were going to see. So anyway, this is the value that I started with for the second 6 months that I owned these bonds. It was $10,480. So I got $480, which is about a 4.8% return. And there's a discrepancy between that 9.62% and the 4.8% because it's only guaranteed for 6. I don't know. The calculations gets crazy. Anyway, so this is the amount of interest that I would earn for the second 6 months. We take that 6.48% divided by 12, gives you your monthly interest. Multiply it by 0.01, turns that into a percent. Multiply it by 6 months, and then by the initial balance. And that's how we get this number. This is just the 1 month interest rate. So the principal after 1 year of buying $10,000 worth of I bonds last October is now $10,820, and then the return rate is 8.2%, which is not, this isn't actually a percent. I would have to multiply that by 100, but either way, you get the point, 8.2%. And then I just ran some calculations based off of just some numbers that I picked. They may or may not be numbers that I had in an account. That's not relevant. So doing the numbers on $10,000 at 4.9%, I was looking at the 6 months and the 1 month rates, and then the totals after 1 month, just to play with some numbers here. So what I'm looking at right now is these are the two rows that are actually important, and this is why I'm selling these bonds right now. So if you start with an initial balance of 10,820, which is the value of my I bonds now, I will show you that. This is going to be the new 6 month interest rate off of Robinhood as the brokerage account at 5% APY, which is what they just upped their APY. This is actually the APR conversion here. 4.8889 is a APR converted. The APY of 5% converted to APR is 4.8889. So anyway, this is how much interest in 6 months. This is how much interest in 1 month, and then the total after 1 month. And then comparing that to the I bond rates, if I were to leave those in there with the current interest rate, it would be, $182 for 6 months as opposed to $264 in the brokerage account. And so the monthly opportunity cost is $13.61. It's not, insane, but after a year, let's say the brokerage account stays that same amount, it would be 13.61 times 12. So that's $160 in a year, money that you could have earned either way. So basically, the opportunity cost is enough now for me to sell those bonds and move the money into a brokerage account that pays a higher interest rate. So I'm going to go ahead and close this guy here. Here's, like I said, the interest rate. So we're going to go ahead and close that. And then this is just the landing page for that. So hopefully this page is still open. I'm going to have to blur some things on here just for privacy, but let's go ahead and pull this up. So this is what the page looks like. I think this is the main page that you log into. There are tons of different securities that you can buy from the Treasury. I do not claim to be an expert on any of them, except I know a decent amount about the I bonds, because that's what I saw as a low risk grandpa investing style. I don't know if you'd call it investing. I just call it basically an interest account. So there's all kinds of different securities here. There's Treasury bills, notes, all this other stuff. I don't even know what some of these are. But the main thing we're going to look at is Series I bonds. I'm going to go ahead and submit there. So you can see this is how much the holding amount is, about $10,000 worth. And then this is how much they're worth, $10,820. And yeah, if I click on this guy here, we can go ahead and pull in, and it shows you the current interest rate, the maturity date, when I bought them, which that's a kind of cool thing. I actually bought them at the very, very end of October, like the 28th of the month. The cool thing about I bonds is you can buy them at the end of the month, but you get all of the interest from the beginning of the month. So a strategy that people were using with these is whenever the interest rates are high on these and there's a feeling that they're going to drop, people will buy them on the last month that they're locked in, or last month that they'll start at a certain rate, knowing that they'll be locked in for 6 months, and then if they drop, they'll get the 6 months at the slightly lower rate. And then, yeah, so I kind of did a short-term, like 15-month strategy on these, and just based off of listening to the Fed minutes, I'll leave a link to those below. These are basically the meetings from the Federal Reserve, our boy jpow, where they discuss their strategy on raising or lowering rates, and they're going to be paused basically for all of 2024. And so their forecasts are basically they're curbing inflation, and it's going to kind of stay level. So these bonds aren't really going to be a good strategy. Depends on your age and risk factor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and redeem these. I've been wanting to do this for literally 15 months, and now is the day we're going to do it. So yeah, I bought them in October, so that means October, November, December, and now we're in January. So that's the 3 months penalty period, if you will. So I get 1 year's worth of interest before that, minus the last 3 months at that 3%. I don't care about that 3%. I just wanted that first year's worth of interest. So we're going to go ahead and redeem these. Let's click redeem. We're going to redeem the full amount. It's going to go into my bank account. I'm going to blur all of the personal information here. Let's go ahead and review that. Here's what they're going to be worth. Interest. No tax is going to be withheld. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I think this is it. Let's go ahead and submit that. Your payment destination should be credited within 2 days. You redeemed the full value of this security. Boom. And there we go. I'm going to see if I got an email confirming that. Yep, I just got an email that says a redemption has been scheduled for a savings bond on 1/1/24 in your treasury direct account. If you have a question concerning this activity, call blah blah blah. So that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and log off here and get rid of that, and I'll just pull up that spreadsheet again. I think I'm pulling it up. There we go. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I-bonds are inflation bonds. They follow the semi-annual inflation rate, which is recalculated in May and November of every year. And I used the high inflation rates of last year and money I had sitting in a bank account making nothing. I think my interest rate was literally like 0.01%. It was like nothing. So I utilized the high interest rates last year and the safety of these bonds to make 8.2% over the last year. Now I'm moving them into a brokerage account that's going to make more than the inflation bonds. And the question would be, would I do this again? Probably not. One of my engineer friends is really good with money and spreadsheets and whatnot, and him and I were on the phone, and it was really funny because I was telling him the rates and I was doing the calculations, and then we kind of came up with the opportunity cost of keeping them, like I showed you, which is on the screen right now, of about $14. So yeah, the opportunity cost right now is $14 a month, just for that amount to sit in the I-bonds as opposed to the brokerage account. And so yeah, that's basically what I-bonds are. They're a vessel to put your money in to gain double the semi-annual inflation rate, and you can redeem them after 1 year, but you should wait 15 months to get your entire first year. There's no penalty after 5 years, so that 3-month penalty I was talking about. After 5 years, that penalty's not there. It's literally grandpa investing, and I don't quite recommend using them. I just took advantage of it when the inflation rates were high. So hopefully that makes sense. I really have been wanting to make this video for a long time, and it was really cool to be able to do this on a video. Yeah, smash the like button if you thought this was informative and you want to see more financial content, like, for example, how to build your credit, which I have a pretty high credit score. I think Americans and people all around the world can be more financially literate at all times. It's something that's not very good in, like, primary, secondary education. You feel like this should be a big deal because financial literacy is really going to affect your life, from buying vehicles to getting loans on homes to getting business loans. And yeah, so smash the like button if you enjoyed that. Subscribe for more content like this. Let me know if you bought bonds last year or this year, or you maybe have bonds that are about to hit expiration in 4 years or so. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Have a good one. Happy New Year. Stay safe. Be prosperous. And I will see you on the next video.